watching the SA Sports Show. Time to talk to one of the masters of commentary, of course, one of the best at Channel 7 and a South Australian. John Casey joins us. Case, always great to have you in the studio.
Thanks, Phil. Great to be with you. It's always good to come on the show and chat a little bit about sport.
Mate, and we're lucky with you. We can get across a pretty diverse group, mate. Let's talk about the SANFL because you're spending a fair bit of time. Number one commentator with them. It's been a pretty interesting year.
Outstanding year. Yeah, It really has been. I mean, we've got Sturt 6-0 on top of the ladder. Best start for them in 50 years. Reigning premiers Norwood 0-6 on the bottom of the ladder. Worst start to a season for Norwood in over 100 years. But there's one win separating 4th and 9th at the moment.
Yes.
So a great competition, 6 rounds in, a third of the way through the season.
Isn't it unusual, really, to see Norwood sitting there? I mean, I've never seen it in my lifetime. I've never seen Norwood sitting down the bottom. A couple of weeks ago, I think we made the point that at one stage there, Port and Norwood were second bottom and bottom.
With the bottom two.
Wow, you would think they've got that upside down.
You sure you weren't here in 1913?
I just missed that one, Kate.
Missed it by a year. Missed it by a
But it's just unusual to see Norwood
Yes.
down there,
Yeah.
especially when coming off a premiership year.
Jay Cheety, premiership coach last year. I would suggest if that wasn't the case, that it might be very uncomfortable.
Jade Rawlings.
Jade Rawlings, sorry,
Yes.
Jade Rawlings.
And Jade, of course, coached the SA state team by virtue of the fact that his team had won the previous year, and he comes into the state team 0-6, but was able to get the job done for South Australia against WA. What a great game that was too.
Let's talk about that one for a minute, mate, because it was at Adelaide Oval. They played at 3 o'clock before.
Bit of backlash too, Phil.
Well, so I guess my point is at 3 o'clock, who can go and watch that at 3 o'clock on a Friday?
Yeah.
No one.
Yeah.
And it was clearly so far before that it didn't affect the AFL game after. So my question to you, Case, is why would they play it at that time? What would be the reasoning?
Well, my understanding is the players wanted it to be at Adelaide Oval. So it had to be at Adelaide Oval. The only game on at Adelaide Oval on that weekend was the Friday night game. So they were forced to play ahead of that. They didn't want to open the Oval Saturday and Sunday because they didn't think it was cost effective to do it that way. So the only time they could play it that weekend was on the Friday in front of a small crowd, a very small crowd, 3 o'clock on a Friday, 1 o'clock in Perth time. So a small audience. It deserved a bigger audience. It deserved better TV coverage. I think they need to get it on Channel 7 if they can work out a plan there. But the players wanted it there at Adelaide Oval, so mitigating circumstances for the SANFL. But, you know, they've been going since 1904. It's a great rivalry. It's the last state game trying to maintain that state football feeling. And it's 50-48 South Australia's way.
That's amazing, isn't it?
It is. And both teams in front in the last quarter as it was last year. So it's very close and it's a great rivalry, but deserves a bigger audience.
I really struggle with we didn't want to open the gates. I mean, no disrespect to cricket, but they open their gates and there's 50 people there. So
Shield games,
I don't buy. If you want it to be seen as the game, then you have to play it as the game.
Yeah.
Because for me, I'm going, well, it's not that big a deal if they play it at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm all for supporting the players and wanting to play there, all for the game being at Adelaide Oval, but if we want it to be the pinnacle for the SANFL, then I just think it needs a bit more around it than, it was a bit too expensive to open it on.
Yeah, I just think that
I would have gone.
Yeah.
I couldn't go at 3 o'clock, but if it had been at 6 o'clock, or it had been a Saturday,
bit of a chance.
I definitely
on a
would have
weekend,
gone.
I think they would have had a much bigger crowd, and I think that's something they'll work on because it's hard to argue against what you're saying there, Phil. But a shout out to James Rowe as well, who's come back from the Adelaide Crows and wins the Foss Williams medal. He was dynamic, kicked a goal, and really the players embrace it. That's what I love about it. And Baz, you know this, having played for South Australia. It doesn't matter whether there's 10 people there or 10,000 people there. You pull on the red Superman jumper, as they call it, and away you go.
Good on to James Rowe, and he would be super proud of that because there'd be some great names on that cup.
Yeah.
James Rowe. I mean, when he sits back and looks at it, and that's a good performance. But I thought, from what I gather, the whole team was pretty good. Liam McBean again, he just keeps popping up, doesn't he? He kicks his 3 goals 3. Well, he's a dangerous player. But full credit to the Sackers there because they got headed in that last term, and there was a bit of momentum with WA. So well done. We're a strong team. No doubts about that.
The players love it, though. You're right about that. I mean, I do a bit of work with North Adelaide, and the boys that were involved, I saw them last night at practice, and they were still talking about it. And they were still pumped up about it. So it means a lot to them.
Well, ask Tim Ginniver about it. I mean,
new head of selectors. He's taken over from Rowie.
Well, mate, Tim's a very passionate South Australian as well. But every Port bloke that I know that played state footy over the years loved it. Absolutely couldn't wait to get there.
Yeah.
I know you're going off to the World Cup in Asia pretty soon. Ben Simmons, been a lot of talk about Ben being in and out of the squad. And you know I've been a big supporter of Ben. I'm interested in your take, mate, where you see him fitting in the Boomers landscape.
Well, I was hoping he was going to play when the World Cup rolls around in August, September, but there's news today that the Brooklyn Nets have released saying his rehabilitation is continuing as well as can be expected. He's had a back operation, serious operation. Initially, they were talking 18 months till he gets back to 100% fit. They're now talking that he will be 100% fit come the 1st of September. Now, that's the weekend of the gold medal game. So I was hopeful that Ben Simmons, and my understanding is he is keen to be part of it, and Brian Goorjian, the coach, has talked him around and he's keen to be part of it. But that timeline now, I've changed my opinion on this. I was hopeful, now I think it's very doubtful that Ben's going to be able to be a part of that, which is a shame.
Yeah. Is Ben, I know you're a fan of his, and we had this conversation, didn't we, last year? I wasn't all that happy with
I'm sympathetic to what's going on around here.
I wasn't all that happy with him pulling out, and a bit like the girl who pulled out and whatever. I wasn't happy with that either, but there was a lot of ill feeling with Ben Simmons over that not playing in the World Cup.
In the Olympics.
In the Olympics, I beg your pardon. There was a bit of a feeling about that. Do you think that's still there? Do you think that still festers? In particular amongst the Australian... Not amongst the players?
Not amongst the players, no, because they had embraced him, the coach, and he was on the phone to Goorjian and the players post-game after they won the bronze medal. He was in regular contact. Paddy Mills has driven a lot of that because obviously teammates in Brooklyn. But no, he's on board. I think in the past he's been poorly advised, and I'm sympathetic along the same lines as you, Phil. But I think there was a genuine want for him to compete. In the past, he has made some decisions that weren't great, but I think the players have forgiven him now, and the coach certainly has and would have him if he was available, and that's the important thing. But the general perception in the public, unfortunately, Ben Simmons is a victim of the tall poppy syndrome. He gets paid $37 million a year and doesn't perform. I saw the US report today claiming, he had a poor year, only averaged, a near triple-double. And because he was three-time All-Star and averaging big numbers, and now he's gone down, people look at that and say, well, that's nothing compared to where he is. And I say, well, you go out into an NBA court and try and average those sort of numbers, you'll find out how good he is. And he is certainly in the best 12 players in Australia if he's fully fit.
Well, see, that's something we don't know. We don't know that he's made that phone call to Brian Goorjian and what that's something that's...
Quiet.
Yeah, well, it's in-house, isn't it? We don't know that. We see him pulling out of the Olympics, and I'm not playing for Australia. That's exactly how I like. Oh, hang on a minute, mate. What are you doing? Well, if you don't want to play for Australia, then we don't want you to. That's how I felt initially. But as I said, you don't know what goes on underneath. So good on him. If he plays, he plays.
Okay, so I'm interested in this one. I was thinking of driving here today because we're going to catch up and have a chat. And Brian Goorjian is an outstanding coach, no doubt, no question. So we're just putting Brian over here at the moment. But I was thinking about Lindsay Gaze and Adrian Hurley and Barry Barnes. Just for a moment, I was just looking at the talent that was there for Brian and looking at what they had, and it's night and day. Just for a moment, if you could put yourself there and go, I wonder how Lindsay would have gone with that group. How would Adrian have gone with that group? How would Barnesy have gone with that group? And you go, gee whiz, they would have been super coaches as well. And to get to the fourth position as many times as they did with what they had, it's just, if that team played any of the teams that they had, it would be a massacre.
Great call.
So we forget how good they were over time because Brian got us the bronze medal, which is outstanding, and the group that he's got right now. But I just, how you have those moments?
All great coaches, aren't they? Fantastic mentors and leaders for Australia who didn't have the tools to work with that Brian Goorjian has at the moment. This is the strongest team ever by a long way. If Ben Simmons was fit and goes there, all 12 are playing NBA. Now, in the past, we've had 5, 6, 7, but we've got the strongest team ever. And being the Olympic bronze medalists, we go there now wanting to get on the podium again and maybe even a step or two higher.
And it's being recognised too as well. I was watching an American basketball show not long ago, and they recognised Australia as being a watch out sort of type team. They'll come get you. The American guys say, they're good swimmers, but hey, they can play basketball as well.
Well, the women are bronze medalists as well at the World Cup as well, and they're playing in the Asia Cup next month in Sydney. And great news today, Izzy Borlase, the 18-year-old Rookie of the Year, she's been added to the Australian squad. So one of two South Australians, Tess Madgen is the other, the captain of the team that won the bronze medal at the World Cup last year. So that's coming up last week of June, first week of July in Sydney, the Asia Cup. We start favourites there, but a good chance for the next crop of players coming through. And Izzy Borlase, she's going to be a superstar, Phil.
Her mum? Jenny Borlase.
Jenny Borlase, yeah, okay.
Superstar netballer. So a bit of
Dad was a fair footballer down
Dad,
at
of
Magpie
course.
then
Yeah.
Oh,
as
yeah,
well.
Daisy, yeah.
Hey, mate, just quickly before we let you go, we could stay and chat all day. The AFL, we've just seen
Absolutely.
Damien Hardwick announce his retirement earlier in the week, and of course we saw Alistair Clarkson go. You're around it. Your feel, is there just too much pressure on the AFL coaches, and the soft cap got cut, of course, with COVID and other things, and we saw assistant coaches get jettisoned, which meant more work for the head coach and more pressure, and suddenly we're seeing them go, I just don't want to do this anymore.
It is a high-pressure industry. And look, you know
Massive.
it better than I would, given
Yeah.
your role that you've
Yeah.
done with Brisbane and other AFL clubs at the moment. So, yeah, it's tough. I feel for them. Really, for Damien Hardwick to walk away, plenty of people have opinions on it. I think it's just sad that he's not going to be able to fulfil his contract, and I'd love to see him involved again in the future because I think he's a very good coach.
Yeah, I'm sure we will. I mean, just quickly, your expectation on the Boomers at the World Cup?
At the World Cup, they should medal. They've got a soft draw. If you can have a soft draw at a World Cup, I shouldn't get ahead of myself there and say that. But they've got a good draw.
Yeah.
They don't face the US until the gold medal game, if that were to get that far. But the draw's opened up for them. They've got all the tools there in terms of the players. If the group that we've got stay healthy and everyone gets there, would have been better with Ben Simmons. But even without Ben Simmons, I certainly think they can medal, and I think they go there with expectations. In fact, I know they're going there with expectations to pick up a medal again, and it mightn't be the same colour as the one they had at the Olympics.
All right, and the women?
And the women as well, yep, they're certainly in the mix. Obviously, you can't beat the US at the moment, but you've got to keep trying to do that. And if they can maintain that podium level, which they held for so many years at the Olympics, I think next year they can certainly be back on the podium.
Oh, well, they said that about America's Cup, and we knocked them off of that.
Exactly right,
mate.
We got them.
The impossible is always possible, Case. Always great to catch up with you, mate.
Good,
Always
Case.
appreciate your time. I know
Pleasure.
you're a busy man. Stay with us. Still, more to come.